We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy.
Oh, he was caught up, but I guess not. No, I'm just kidding. Some insider conversations. But what is good? How are we doing? How's our how's everyone's mental, spiritual, and productive well-being? I know I always seem like I say it's been a long time since I've done these, but it really has been like a good little minute since I've been getting the getting the walks done and also getting mind my mind right, my headspace together. So, as they always say, just bear with me. Scary. It's the second day that's happened. These walk pads do not play. Um, One, and this is no shocker, but it's a little windy, but it ain't as cold as it normally is when I do these, and don't don't take that for granted. Okay. I'm checking some audio checks on my end because there have been a time or two that I've done these and may or may not have had the equipment set up like I needed it to be. Um, I'm gonna do a spinoff, but not a spinoff. But it will be a spinoff, and I'll explain why as we walk. So we're gonna go back to the '90s, and there was a young artist in the hip hop slash R&B scene, but one that was a big hip hop artist named Biggie, and Biggie dated and I think married or was involved with Faith Heaven. And Faith Heaven did a fair share of music, fair share of albums, and an album she did was called, I think he's on the same album. It might be, they might not be. It was a single she did. I'm not gonna pinpoint the album during the walk because it's not that deep. But she did a she did an album called Keep the Faith. Well, she did a single called Keep the Faith. And one part of the song that she said was sometimes we have to let the Lord fight our battles. I promise you, I'm not trying to make this into a sermony or some like, oh, we trying to take it to church. It's not what this is about. This is about really learning how important it is to uphold your priorities at hand. Some days and some opportunities in our life, we are going to go through it. I mean, yeah, rocked and rammed and run through the ringer. It's it's an unwritten script. It's a thing that's been a thing. It's something that even if you even if you think you can control it, it's hard to control. Um, I personally can say without a shadow of a doubt that life has definitely rocked me in every which way possible. But the shocker, kicker of it all, somehow, somehow I'm still standing. Somehow I have not lost focus. Um, you all will probably hear this on podcast later than when it's uploaded on my page. But yesterday was a, a grueling, strengthening space when it came to doing my exercise. And things change involving my exercise. I'm not going to deny I take that for granted. But one thing I've noticed is the points in our lives where we're trying to really better and improve ourselves, any and everything that could be in the way is going to be in the way. And it just not, it really don't care. Uh, I never really grasped or gathered the magnitude of that until really looking at everything that I won't say forcefully, but everything that I've just outright experienced in life. I don't put myself in this position to expect everyone to join my journey or become one with who and what I'm doing. But I've also realized that in doing things, people will come and treat. And here's where I'm going with that. And I think I talked about this either during a regular sit down podcast or a walkcast. When I went on a field trip, and at the time I kind of was my own person. I kind of had my own thing, kind of played to my own drum. And thinking back on that now, before I continue the story, it makes more sense why when I go places or go to activities, it's like good to have and know people there, but it's also good to scour and navigate and for lack of a better term, be your own person. So this particular trip, I remember going and getting around, the venue where we were. I'm not gonna say where. I'm not gonna give any specifics because I know people listen. But um, I was, I basically, you know, would go each day, and I would, have like different outfits and wear whatever. And then it was like the second to last day or the last day, one of the two. I think it was the second to last day, and I was kind of low on inventory for what to wear. And so this last outfit, like most of my clothes had pretty much matched and were working to my favor. But this one was kind of like this is all I got. So make it work. And it's kind of why I'm the way I am now when it comes to like not fashion, but just wearing certain things. I'm like, look, if it fit and I'm comfortable, I could care less. So fast forward, go through the day, certain point I get like called out about like why am I wearing this? Or what made you decide to put that on? And in my head, and mind you, I'm a kid when this was talked about. I don't think I was 18 yet. But even still, I mean, it was my decision. I lived with it, committed to it, so it was what it was. And I say that story only because that was a point in my life where I was beginning to realize that even if others weren't fond of it, I got to stay true to me. And to this day, and I think people younger and or older sometimes aren't accustomed to someone, I won't say making their own decisions, but accustomed to like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. At one point, it was a term I used to use called like, all right, I'm making an executive decision. And another friend of mine, her and I coined that term because it's like, look, this is what we own, this is where I'm at. Uh, I share that story because I've made my fair share of executive decisions, and I haven't made my fair share of executive decisions. There have been some times that I have literally thrown myself into the dreaded autopilot mode and just said, screw, it, just do something. And those times have worked out too, but they haven't worked out as they should have if I had really like boiled down to it and made a decision. Uh, like I said, and I didn't talk about this in depth, but like my trainer didn't know or doesn't realize how much he like kind of got in my thought process yesterday because sometimes you really don't know what you're doing or how you're doing things until someone really breaks it down. Like this is what I've seen. And I don't think you are noticing it because you just kind of function through it. And I function through my fair share. So my workouts, I'll function, like I'll work it, make it happen, and autopilot where necessary. I mean, writing, writing, I literally will internally or intentionally pressure myself with, which is just never a good formula. But it's almost like the age-old phrase of like, I've been doing it this long, why change now? But uh, it's it's tediously challenging when you make that type of move. So what he mentioned, and I'm gonna share this with you all because a lot of us do it and don't even know we do it, is there's two there's two flows or there's two ways with me doing stuff. There's all in, full blown committed Brian, who's like head down, get it done, no discipline. I mean, stay disciplined, execute, follow through, feel good, feel great, focused, positive. We got this. And then there's what I call unsure Brian, who forces any opportunity to take pit stops. I'll give you a really, really simple example of this because it used to happen when I first got introduced to the treadmill. I would, get to a high speed. Now, the high speeds at that time was like 3.6, 3.7, 3.8. And I'm like, it's too much, it's too much. But what I would do instead of staying on the treadmill and have it come down, I would just take both feet off, stand on the side, and let the treadmill do whatever. And it was probably one of the worst habits I had because it wasn't helping me with actually walking or running or getting in a better space when it comes to like mobility. And why I'm sharing this story and why I'm bringing this up is because I didn't think much about it at the time. I didn't really think about it at all, to be honest. But um, I this habit of mine is I'll get in the car, I'll have a destination of knowing where I need to go, and I'm like, I don't want to do it, and I will pull over to the side, get out, and start something else. And when I first came over to the team that I'm on now, where I was sitting, there was a big sign on the wall that said, "Stop starting and start finishing." I knew and I realized and understood that it was related to agile and to project management or product management, product owner, product management. But I did not realize that it also is a thing that people do on a consistent basis, I being one of them. And I am now realizing that I've done this for quite some time over the last few years. Because, like I said, I went into the full story, full breakdown with my boy, and we talked about different stuff. And I literally was like, yeah, the last few years, it's like I'll get to churning, I'll get to moving, get everything going, and then I started to sputter, and I'm just kind of like, now I want to do it. And it's one of the hardest things to function through, even with everything that you experience, like losing family, losing friends, grieving, uh, having to work through financial, I won't say financial crises, but through financial mishaps. That's a better way to put it. Um, just doing the things that you know you need to do, right? So like it's, and then let me be clear when I share everything that I'm sharing, this is not me sharing like woe is me, show pity over me, like I'm going through a lot. It's not even that. It's just more of the experience itself and seeing like, okay, are we going to change our patterns? Are we going to change our habits? Or are we going to keep doing what we've been doing before? So I didn't fully get into it yesterday, but today, 'cause yesterday was a navigational, chaotic wall, um, just with the work, with everything. But I got home and I remember Sunday, like I said, my friend, he does the men's ministry. And a couple of my, like, couple of folks that I've connected with there, my boy, he showed up. We all sat in there and we had like a good policy, a good session. It was four of us, the greatest group and just solid flow of just conversation. And I share that because during the during the session, he brings out the book, The Power of Now, which I had a digital copy that I picked up somewhere, but then I eventually bought a copy on Kindle. So between my iPad and the OG Kindle that has been waiting to be used, I'm gonna read The Power of Now. And the reason I'm reading The Power of Now, I want to read The Power of Now is because In many instances of my life, and you all may be doing this too, whoever's listening, you'll find yourself looking back, thinking about everything that happened, everything you could have did, you should have did, you would have did, where things were, what what didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen, trying to piece those puzzle pieces together that are not even your puzzle pieces to begin with. But we also will push to the future and thinking about what where we're supposed to be, what we're trying to do, like what I got planned, like, and I can get away with saying this, but I don't want it to sound bad when I say it. Planning can be very stressful if you generate stress from planning. And here's what I mean. If you are really adamant about planning out your day, planning out your life, it becomes a lot when you think of how much goes into thinking ahead of what you're looking to do, either for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year. And doing those things is good, but it's also, you got to be realistic. And when I say realistic, I mean it in the sense of, okay, I have this to work on. Like, let's say I got a dentist appointment on whatever day. That appointment is going to be there regardless, right? Like, there's no like prancing around the fact that you have an appointment. But the appointment is not meant to like dominate your life. Hold that thought. All right, we're back. uh Sorry about that as usual. But planning puts us in this mindset or perspective of like thinking ahead, preparing, doing those things that we have coming up. So like what we do is we know, okay, I got this thing to work on at this time. We will spend more energy thinking about what's coming up at that time that we're not doing the things leading up to that time to just prepare. So like every morning, whenever I have to commute to work, I'm traditionally known for commuting or, doing all my pre-commute stuff and the whole nine. I will spend so much energy thinking about what time I need to be ready to commute that I'm not doing all of the preparations before the commute. And what ends up happening is you're hustling or you're pushing to like do everything at a more vibrant speed. Case in point, it's almost like if you like one day, and this actually happened to me. One day I'm like getting ready, getting all my stuff situated, and I'm out, left, got to work, got in the office, was getting ready to pull out my keyboard, mouse, everything. And I looked for my laptop in my bag. It wasn't there. Now it was a good thing that I got to work early enough, but it was like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? Like, I think one day, it was yesterday, and this has happened to me multiple times. Like, I went, got in the car, put all my stuff up. Um, no, I was getting in the car, getting ready to go to the gym, and I'm leaving. I'm looking at my car, my dashboard, and I'm like, why is my phone not connecting to my car? Lo and behold, didn't have the phone. So I had to go back in the house, get the phone, and kind of progress from there. Here's how the power of now is impactful. And this is, again, I've not read the book, but I'm going to read it because I need to read it. And I think it will bring some things to light. about stop starting and start finishing. Uh, and I'll talk about a theme too, because this is going to play a part. Yesterday, as I'm going to the gym, I've known that there are detours on my route, which is no big deal. But remembering those detours and then having to travel around them or navigate through them or whatever can be very blindsiding, for lack of a better term, right? It happens. No big deal. Nothing to make a big fuss about. Well, it becomes a big fuss when you're trying to detour and others are trying to detour, and then your brain is going into, I'm not gonna make it in time. I don't know it's gonna take me a minute to get there. Meanwhile, I go a different route, travel to or drive to the gym, and I get there. I still had like 5 minutes left because it was like 5 minutes to 6:30 and or 6:25, and I was like, all right, well, I'm good. But I was so on edge and so like on pins and needles, like I gotta hurry up and I gotta do this and do this, and then it was like, just relax, just be. And it's funny because yesterday was an example or an experience of be like water, and we don't realize how important it is to just let things flow because we want a hand on everything. We want to be a pulse on everything. And sometimes we don't need to be the pulse. We need to let the pulse be the pulse. Uh, but before I forget, one year my theme was unfinished business. And to to the most extent, I was able to fulfill that unfinished business element. Now I'm not sure, I'm trying to remember the exact year because I know there were points in me looking at like the breaking into tech, becoming, becoming permanent in tech, becoming an engineer. Between one of those phases, or just with other phases in my life, there was unfinished business. And the part of the part of the pre-workout that really hit me the hardest yesterday was I told my friend that I really don't give myself great, which is 100% true. But the question he followed up with was, when was the last time you've given yourself grace? And I had to really sit there and like go into an immense thought bubble of when was the last time. Because it always seems like not necessarily that I'm beating myself up, but that I'm extremely hard on myself. But it's more of I don't I don't observe and take the opportunity to see where things are or where things were because I'm so busy in the other moments. Um, my other big takeaway lately, and this is gonna be, and this is probably not gonna be your traditional, like normal everyday podcast that I do, but this is something that's big in this thought bubble as well. Is also I think I've been too serious with a lot of things. And we always hear or you'll catch the reference of like it ain't that serious. To me, everything's serious. And sometimes it's like, why are you so intense or so serious about stuff that's not even worth making all the fuss about? And an immediate and direct and honest answer is I don't know. Because the craziest thing about it, and the truth of the matter is, I've probably, in many instances, been, as they joke about with Kawhi Leonard, the fun guy. But I've really been like a person who I have a sense of humor. I'm very much a people person. I do my best to be well versed and well connected with talking about things, being open to spaces. And the fun side starts with opening the heart. Um, opening your throat and being having your opening your throat chakra, opening your being more vocal and having a voice. That's fine and that's cool. But a lot of times it's reasons and it's intentions as to why I'm like as quote unquote even keel or as chill as I'm seen for being, because even with all that's going on, I'm good. Um, and it's not even me sitting there like, oh, I'm waiting for this big break to happen. No, it's not even a big break to happen. It's more of a me just putting trust in me to get what I need to get done to get over the hump, and everything will be fine. Um, that in and of itself is a challenge, a battle, a journey that not everyone seems to realize exists, but it exists. And when I'm on the other side of the not having fun, I isolate, I shut down, I don't want to do anything. Like people will probably hear this podcast that know me, and I've literally been back and forth about this Christmas party. Like, do I want to go? I know it's going to be fun. I've been last year. I know what to expect. Um, I'm here for the vibe. I'm here for the good time. But then it's also like I don't want to do a suit. I don't want to do the. It's all the I don't want us instead of just being like, just do it and just live a little. Um, it, it's it's challenging. Like life can be challenging in ways that others could only imagine. But and one thing my friend said at the end of the like at the end of his breakdown and just us talking was, we always hear, and I don't I don't like Drake's reference of this. I didn't like when everybody like referenced this term so much of like you only live once. And I'm like, no, you only get one life. You get one life on this earth. One opportunity to you get one opportunity and you get that moment that others would die to have. Like it's hard to, especially working in tech field, it's hard to take that time and look at the fact that X number of people went for the position that you have because you have it, but then you're not being grateful or not taking time to really look at the fact that there could have been anyone else in this seat doing this job, but you're doing it. So do it to the best of your ability. And at times that happens, other times not so much. But it's what comes with the territory of being human or being a person. And trust me, it is not for the weak. 100% it's not for the weak. Everybody wants to do it until it's time to do it. Everyone wants to be a podcaster until it's time to turn that mic on. Everybody wants to work out or better their bodies until it's time to get up and take walks. Because like a lot of people who know me and have heard me talk about it, they're like, I don't understand how you can get up at 5 o'clock every morning and go walk. And I said, if I'm being truthful and I'm being fully transparent, a lot of what happens or a lot of how this all gets accomplished is because I know if I look back 3, even 4 years ago, I was getting up early, but I was getting up doing very mundane things that they were helpful, but they weren't healthy. So I used to, at first, I used to read the Bible, read affirmations, meditate, pray. Had such a fine tune to it that it was just a thing. Had a meditation mat, whole nine. In the process, there were things that I was subtracting that I didn't realize I needed to have added. One of those things was movement. My body needed a fair share of mobility. So getting up, if it meant me going to the court playing basketball, if it meant me just walking around town, like in the last nearly 2 years, I've probably walked way more than I normally would because I literally, to do walking, sure, I can always, you can get on a treadmill and walk, but doing a treadmill or doing a step climber is not walking. It's um it's immobile or minimal. Like it doesn't simulate the real life of walking. And I can definitely attest to the simple fact that over the last 2 years, I've found that by doing more walking, it's made me not as like exhausted when I'm walking around. So to give context, and I think I might have talked about this at one point, a few years. Last year, many of you know I went to Afrotech. If I didn't start or wasn't doing the walking like I've been doing currently, or even then, I would have been cast at Afrotech. But we would go to different areas around, like because everything was in walking distance, number one. And number two, our budget and our flow was, all right, you can handle what you need to within the radius of the venue, which was completely fine. No big hiccups there. Um, but it really showed me that the early stages of hard work was paying off. Now, now I'm gonna throw a curveball. Let's say, let's say before I went to Afrotech this year, like I did, been doing the laps at the track, been doing the walks at a higher amount of minutes, like a higher time frame. Because I'm close to like each day, give or take, I'm walking close to 2 miles every morning. Like the days that I'm not in the gym. And then you add to that my weekend walks, which were 2 miles, 3 miles, we're back to 4 miles, which by the way, and this is a super, super sidebar. If I do 4 miles, I need to not be cold. Like how it feels today, I can do this. This is fine. When we were out there last week, it was insane. No way. But it's one of those things that you do what you do. You focus on what you're trying to work on. But I mentioned how I've moved now, like especially since because I did the 10K, and it was crazy because I did the 10K literally with no walking or workout regimen other than what I was doing at the lab or the well. I wasn't doing like, okay, we go to the track and go for so many miles. Now here's the kicker. And this is where like my planning brain comes in. If it's on a to-do list or if it's in a we know that it needs to be done, like and no one really talks to anybody about this, but I'm gonna give y'all a free game because it's something to really consider. As people, we do our to-do list of things we're gonna do for the day. If you're doing a to-do list, and on your to-do list, there are certain things that are just patterned to be done. Those patterns should not be to-dos or tasks. They should be routines. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, what's the difference? There really isn't much of a comparison between the two. And I'm like, actually, there is. Because your routine is what you know you're gonna be accustomed to doing. So for instance, like I mentioned earlier, everyone knows, even though they're not the biggest fan of personally doing it, and I don't like not being funny, I don't care what other people do or can't do or aren't a fan of doing. I personally got to get up at 5. I get up at 5 because from 5 to 7 ish, that's my time. When I was working at the hospital, it was 6, and it was a different scenario, a different flow because I would get up at 6, do all my morning stuff, get up, get active, get on the road because I knew as long as I got to the area where I was working by 7:30, I was fine. And on top of that, my commute was like my commute was super short. Like when I say super short, I mean like literally from from where I stayed to where I work might have took me maybe 10 minutes at max. But I was able to get that habit in formation of this is what I got to do. This is how it's gonna get done. Let's make it happen, and make it happen. I did. I don't regret it. I don't have any ill will towards it. Uh, it was a, it was more of an eye opener than anything else, and like it's so like different. Even with thinking of you know being where I was, being and it's so like it's so again it's such an eye opener. It's like going full time in May, moving in July. A few months after, like what, July through November, kind of winging it, figuring it out. October, November comes around, I'm ready to get my health back on track. And I have, and I continue to do that. Uh, why it's an even more aha moment is because I've worked on my health and I've worked on my my mindset, but it's been like my day-to-day transition where at first it was get up, get ready for work, go to work, come home. Now it's get up, walk, exercise. If we're able to journal, read, things of that nature. Um, and then, you know, prep for work, get to work. Um, and that's something you got to think of too. And this is, I'm gonna do this is gonna be my closer. So a lot of people, I don't talk to everyone about The Secret because The Secret is a misinterpreted book. Because a lot of people look at The Secret as a very spiritual heavy, holistic, stoic book, or it's a book that doesn't give information to everyone's liking from a religious aspect. I'm gonna just leave it at that. However, for years,
I would say since probably 2018, 2019. And I think 2018, I literally remember reading both books like within a matter of weeks. Um, I would always tell people about the Four Agreements, and I always tell people about The Secret. Four Agreements, if you have not heard already, um, be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personal, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. There's a fifth. Still say I need to read it, but have not read it yet. But it is key to life and growth. Well, The Secret basically talks about the law of attraction. And the reality is, the thing that's so crazy when I look back at it is reading The Secret and experiencing The Secret were like shocking moments because I've been around people, and I still see it to this day, where when they're around each other, it's almost like an unintended magnet. Like when you have, for instance, and I've used this or I've talked about this before with body doubling. People don't like Starbucks because, oh, their coffee's overpriced or the food's overpriced or everything is just not worth buying because we need to boycott them or whatever. But between Starbucks and if we really want to take it there, going to any coffee shop, you're getting an experience of other people are working. It's not to sit here and say that you have to work too, but if you have tools with you to do work, this is the opportunity to work on the things you need to work on. Um, I've never gone. I keep talking about wanting to go, but it just has not hit me. The Cave. I think it's called the Cave. It's it's a place where you can um I'll call it cohabitate, but it's like it's like a workspace. It's like a place to do for workspace. Being around other people who are working is going to cause you to want to do work. If you're sitting and people around you are just lollygagging and not doing anything, you're like, I mean, no disrespect, but I guess I need to not necessarily feel like you have to join in, but like you're becoming part of what your environment entails. But I bring up The Secret only because one, like the like attracts like part is one thing, but the biggest part of it is how you speak over things is what ends up happening. So a part of the book, in a section of the book, they talk about where if you are in the space where you're going to work and let's say I got in the car right now and I said, all right, I'm going to get ready to go to work and I need to be at work at said time. If I get in my car and any type of a impede or stop or break or whatever comes in the way, if the first thing out of my mouth is, "Well, I'm not gonna make it to work on time," you've already planted the seed to tell yourself you're not gonna make it on time because you've now like placed that foundation of not wanting to be at work on time. When in reality, you can get there on time. You just gotta trust the process. Because what ends up happening every single time, unless it's now if there's just outright traffic, traffic is traffic. You can't control that. But if it's a like just a little bit of traffic and you got this moment, eventually the storm will leave and you'll be back to your normal drive. And I bring that up and I share that and I close out with this because we as people sometimes need to manage our verbiage and manage our mindset. And I'm sharing this same people, but I'm talking about Brian more than anything else. And the fact that at times, yes, every day is not going to be rainbows and sunshine. I don't expect it to be, but I also embrace it when it is. That being said, I am truly working harder on becoming a better me. And I'm becoming a better me. And this is going to sound shocking to some people when I say this. I'm becoming a better me for me. I've always been trying to become a better me for others around me and hoping that they get it. But I've realized like those who get it. Those who don't, they don't. And that's okay. I think at times we want everyone to see it the way we see it. but it's not our job to get them to see it. And that's just how I look at it. So I wish everyone a very positive and prosperous Tuesday. Um, as I always say, more in store. Still continuing to do these. At some point, I don't know when, but eventually I'm going to bring the microphones back out and be back to traditional recording. I'm tempted, I need to double check, but I'm tempted for not obviously not this weekend, but next weekend. Got a big show ready. Have I prepared for it? Of course not. Am I concerned about it? Of course not. Uh, Only because I have to live in the now. If the now it's not a if it's not on my radar now, it's not important and it can wait. And this is an added piece. I'll add this one part and then I'm gone. Do not make everything a priority. Why I'm sharing this with you all is because what happens in our lives is that everyone and everything is going to look at you and come to you and say, "I'm number one." And the truth is they're not. You have to make you the priority first and foremost, but to add to it things that you're working on, tasks that you're doing, lists that you're completing, one priority. And speaking from a former healthcare employee, especially with the line of work that I did, that can be hard. However, you have to prioritize what's the main priority. And once you have whatever that main priority is, then everything else evens itself out. And then you can kind of navigate on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. So that's what I got. Sorry, I was a little long winded. I wasn't really long winded because y'all been listening to these long enough. It's nothing new. But until next time, this is the Pat signing out. Peace.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. And also the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.